Welcome to the Steam channel. In this product spotlight, we'll be looking over Broadway Limited Imports recently delivered N-Scale T1 Northern Locomotive. We have Locomotive 2115 on hand, and this locomotive comes equipped with Broadway Limited's Paragon 4 sound system, and it's smoke equipped. Here you can see the engine and its packaging. The T1 comes in a solid plastic container and is secured within a blister pack. Let's get her out and take a look at the 484. As World War II was nearing its end, the Reading Railroad wanted to create larger and more powerful locomotives to haul their growing freight traffic. The War Production Board denied the Reading Railroad from building a new locomotive design, but they allowed the railroad to rebuild or modify already existing locomotives. To solve this issue of motive power, the Reading moved 30 of their I-10 SA class consolidations to their shop in Reading, Pennsylvania between 1945 and 1947. These 280s were rebuilt into 484 Northerns and were reclassified as T1s. These engines were renumbered 2100 to 2129. When steam was retired on the Reading, 4 locomotives were ultimately set aside for the company's Iron Horse Rambles. Number 2100 and 2124 were to be used to pull the trains, number 2101 was set aside as backup power, and number 2123 was cannibalized for spare parts. When 2124's flue time expired, it was sold off and replaced with the 2102. 2102 currently operates in preservation at the Reading, Blue Mountain and Northern Railroad in Port Clinton, Pennsylvania. Broadway Limited's rendition of the T1 is a sharp model, and I was impressed with the level of detail that was packaged into such a small model. This model has a die-cast locomotive body with a die-cast chassis for a heavier weight and improved tractive effort. The engine also has a built-in capacitor pack which will keep the engine running over imperfect track. We'll start up at the pilot of the 2115. Here you can see the bell, headlight, number board, and handrail detailing. The pilot itself looks nice and has a scale coupler and air hose detailing. This was about as close as I can get with the camera before the focus would start to blur. Here you can see the cylinder detail and piping, the ladder, and the pilot truck wheels. Panning down the locomotive, you could spot the tank and hose detail, the power reverser, and the nicely finished running gear. This locomotive has box pot drivers, and you can see the eccentric crank in black. You can also spot the brake hangers and brake rigging detail. I'm rather impressed that so much detail can be installed on such a small platform in N-Scale. Here you can see the trailing truck journal box caps, and the injector piping under the cab. On the cab, you'll notice rivet detail along the seams of the cab side sheets and on the roof. There is a vent on the top of the cab, and you can also see the framing for the cab window. Panning the top of the boiler, you can see the feed water heater, stack, dome, steam generator, throttle linkage, handrails, whistle, and safety valves. The tender for this locomotive is pretty nice and has a nice long tender body. The body itself sits on a pair of 3-axle Commonwealth trucks which look sharp. Again, I'm impressed with the high amount of detail in the truck side frames, the brake rigging, leaf springs, and the journal box area for such a small model. At the rear of the tender, you'll spot the directional light, ladder, piping, coupler cut lever, steps, a scale coupler, and hose detail. I tried to get a closer shot of this detail, but the camera wouldn't stay in focus. Rounding out the tender is a load of coal, railings mounted around the perimeter of the tender deck, and the water fill hatch. Overall, I was rather impressed that so much detail was packed into such a small model. This Northern even has a smoke unit and comes with Paragon 4 sound. If you'd like to add a T1 to your fleet, our friends at Trainworld have these models in stock for $359.99, and they have several different road numbers available. Let's get the 2115 on the layout and check out her sound features. First up will be the bell and the whistle. We tied on a freight cut just over 30 freight cars, and we turned the 2115 loose to do a few laps on the railroad. This T1 was a strong puller. Broadway Limited has recently announced their Conductors Club, which is a members-based club that allows access to special perks. This club costs $29 per year, and one of these perks is the ability to purchase a heavily discounted locomotive model in HO and N scale each year. This year, Broadway Limited has announced that the Union Pacific Late Challenger will be offered an HO scale, and the Big Boy will be offered an N scale. More information on the Conductors Club can be found on Broadway Limited's website. We'd like to thank our friends at Broadway Limited Imports for sponsoring this N-Scale product spotlight here on the Steam Channel. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we'll catch you on the rails.
Thanks for tuning in for this video here on the Steam Channel. We hope you enjoyed it. Why not climb aboard for another high-quality Steam video in beautiful Ultra HD by clicking on one of the previews to your right.